Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Taekcast, bringing, of course, in Mr. Overzet. We haven't done one of these post-season since Pete was, I think a celebrity out at the Super Bowl. You were one of the people walking the red carpet. You were next to like Timothy Chalamet, leaving in your private
Yeah,
jet
right.
after the game. That was one of my favorite Super Bowl things was the people showing the private jet tracking of everyone leaving Los Angeles on Sunday night. Like that was enjoyable.
No, that was not me. I got to the airport incredibly early, flying economy with JetBlue. So yeah, no, Underdog I think had a good year, but not enough to fly me first class out to the Super Bowl.
Man of the people, Peter. Very unlike Jack Settleman, who just like goes to what most people in the Midwest assume is a giant city, which it is. Cleveland is a big city, and Settleman is sending these tweets like small town America, really, really getting in the heart of it. And I'm just dying. I'm like someone from a town of 7,000 people in Ohio is reading this, and it's like Settleman's such an asshole.
Well, no, the best part of that is that he went on Club Top Shot. And he's like, actually, there was hardly any restaurant options. He's like, there's only 4 good ones. It's like he immediately turned on the city. He's like, this is the best place I've ever lived. Then he went to the 3 best spots and was like, actually, this kind of sucks.
I'm done. I'm out. Yeah, no, it's an interesting time for us to be doing a show, obviously, as geopolitical global tensions are rising out there, and our biggest concerns are liquid JPEGs and how they are reacting to it, which is we're so far down the fucking rabbit hole of where millennial people like us are at in terms of wealth when like I'm checking my looks rare tokens this morning and like, oh, I wonder how they're doing, how they're holding up through all of this tension. Like it's such a joke.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like it's the classic thing where, this huge, global event is happening. I think most people understand the gravitas of the situation and want to, understand what's going on, whether that's sending thoughts and prayers, however that kind of manifests. And yet we're still fucking humans that ultimately, care about how it relates to us and what's going on in our life. And I think that's always such a mind fuck, right? Too. Like sometimes I see these tweets from people and they're like, thoughts go out to Ukraine. And it's like, you're just saying this because you want to get back to tweeting about what you want to tweet about. And you feel like you need to get this off to basically give you permission to start talking again.
You want to send one tweet about Vladimir Putin and Ukraine so that you can get back to tweeting fantasy football stats on February 24th, like obviously.
Yeah. I saw it. It does seem, I know DraftG called it out on Twitter yesterday, but it does seem like the fantasy football discourse, and even myself, like drafting best ball teams, I was not drafting best ball teams, or at least even at the clip I am now last year at this time. I was like, I'll wait till the NFL draft and then I'll dive in. And it just feels like for whatever reason, I don't know if it's content driven, boredom driven, but it's like all of us are just frothy to talk about fantasy football way earlier than I ever remember.
Oh, I mean, it's underdog driven, right? I think just think the massive marketing push that they have done is leading it. Certainly I think Beimfor and like just roto grinders in general, and so much of the general conversation about fantasy football has turned to best ball now. Like I think like the average conversation about fantasy football now is about best ball and roster construction and should you do this and like and we're immediately starting to do the postmortem of the 2021 data already and being like, well, actually when you took Josh Allen, you should only take one other quarterback, or maybe you should have actually taken 3, and which I think is fine. I don't know. And I mean, you don't care about this, but there's no baseball right now. So some of the people who would maybe be grinding like high stakes baseball drafts are not doing that because the season might not happen or might be shortened again, might get all fucked up. So I think that plays into it a little bit too.
No, I agree with that. And I was thinking back to, I mean, and I saw someone reference on Twitter the other day. It was like the great, wide receiver hype battles of like 2014, 15. And that was when I was just starting to make content. But it seemed like the conversations back then were much more centered around dynasty at this time of the
Yeah.
year.
Oh,
And like
big
to your
time.
point with underdog, and of course to pump my own bags, but I do think just because the drafting experience is so fun and slick on their app, that it has just kind of pulled that conversation where it's like, who knows? Maybe if my fantasy league or whoever had like this killer dynasty app that we all just loved being on, like maybe the conversation would be more centered around dynasty, but it's just like, this is the funnest place to play. It's like still the same reason people are talking about Top Shot, even when they're over flooding the market and there's all these issues, but it's like, well, it's still kind of like a fun UI to like hop in the queue and rip open a pack. And so like, this is what we're going to do with our time right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, and dynasty fantasy football is just so much more labor intensive, right? Like you gotta even in these best ball leagues that we play in, it is just so much more labor intensive because you have to do trades, you got to do the rookie draft, you got to cut guys. I mean, the trading stuff is like the amount of time I would spend on one dynasty fantasy football trade with like an expected value of that time of like cents is, it's like I could knock out 5 Best Ball Mania drafts in the time it takes me to like complete a trade with Michael Leone.
Yeah, you have to like, I will always, my hometown dynasty league, I fire it up every year and it's fun. And I like having that one league where you do the transactions and it feels comfortable. But like outside of that, it's like, if it's not best ball dynasty, I'm just not doing it. Because like you said, it's just, I would do probably a really high stakes dynasty league that actually made me be invested in it. But it is really hard. Like I'm in some of these leagues that are a $40 buy-in, and it's not even like buy-in shaming. It's just like getting your interest levels up to
Yeah.
really grind those edges. It's just hard to do because it is a huge time investment. And if it was like, maybe I should do like an FFPC dynasty league or something just where I feel like my grinding might be rewarded.
Well, so Leone and I co-own a $1,200 team. And the problem you find with that, not that one isn't so much like an energy thing or anyways, it's that the way those people play, they overvalue the running back so much. So of course, Leone and I have this team with like, we have Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow and all these wide receivers. We have, I don't even know, I think we have like Metcalf and Ridley and someone else really good, like more wide receivers than we can even start. And we traded our only starting running back, Chris Carson, at the beginning of the season. We had no running backs, right? Obviously, we have no running backs, and someone offered us Mark Andrews for him. So like, you have to do that trade, right? But we literally have no running backs. Like we have Kittle and Mark Andrews and tight end premium. Like, and this is like fantasy douche. No one cares. But the point is that at some point we're gonna have this great theoretical roster that we pay $1,200 for every year, or eventually we're gonna have to do a terrible value trade for a running back. Like we'll have to trade a first round pick for, Ezekiel Elliott or someone useless just to get some running back points. So that's the problem with the FFPC leagues.
Yeah, no. And it goes both ways too, right? Because I'm in one of those super flex tight end premium dynasty quarantine leagues that we started with Leone and co. And I was pissed off about the group me. I deleted that app off my phone. So I'm not even in the group communications. And then I never even checked it. So sometimes it swings too far in the other direction with best ball, where now I just associate best ball with completely hands off. And in that league, you actually do want to still kind of make some long-term moves. But man, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but like basically how I viewed all my managed leagues, I'd have like a bookmark folder on my computer, and it just felt like a chore. It was like, okay, open up the bookmark folder with all of these leagues. And it's like, yeah, I want to knock off the high stakes leagues here first. And then you're getting down to these $40 dynasty leagues or $100 best ball leagues. And it's like, I don't have the energy for this right now.
No, I mean, that's the exact same way that I do it. I mean, I literally, I have a folder and they're all, listed in order. And every once in a while for the dynasty teams, I'll go through all of them. I have, Scott Fish is going to hate me for this, but I have abandoned some of them this offseason. I'm just like, I paid for them. So I paid for this year and I was like, just give it to somebody else. Like our buddy John Bosch, who does the Eliminator leagues, he like sent an email for one of these group dynasty leagues he did, and I was like, look, I'll pay, but I'm not gonna be a good owner. I'm not gonna be responding to any of the trade emails. I'm not gonna be making waiver moves. Like, you just got to replace me, and he did, which I think is a fine mental health step.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good take for everyone. I had someone drop out of my dynasty league. It's like there's no hard feelings. Like once you're done being motivated to play, just drop out and make it better for everyone. It is a bummer that just the way dynasty kind of works and similar to, I guess you could say, like peer-to-peer sports betting, where it's kind of ripe for collusion, because otherwise, how sick would it be? Like, I would love, like, if Underdog launched a best ball dynasty tournament,
Oh
like
yeah.
that would be sick. And where we actually got some top heavy prize pools and it could have a longer time horizon. But I think the trading element, which is pretty much necessary for any kind of dynasty league, that's just so hard to, make it provably fair.
I mean, it would be amazing if they launched like a 2-year best ball league or something with like added roster spots, like and you wouldn't even have to do a rookie draft. I mean, maybe you could inside the software. That might, that might be too much with like, but you could just Underdog could launch it, and the scoring accumulates for 2022 and 2023, and then it gets paid out then. I imagine that's a very low rake atmosphere for them, so probably not something that they are really trying to go after. But I mean, I would play in that. Like, I would play in that league format for sure.
I would love to see the DFS bros on tilt with, first you locked up your money for a year and I said nothing. And now you're locking up your money for 3 years.
I have not seen as much of the DFS Hardo anti best ball stuff recently. Like, I remember like Ricky D had this tweet back in the day where he's like, imagine painstakingly crafting 150 lineups for a hand for the Millie Maker, and then that process taking 4 months. That's literally what you're doing for Best Ball Mania. But I haven't seen one of those in a while.
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of they just gave in because best ball Twitter became such a monstrosity.
I mean, it really became DFS Twitter.
But also too, like, the discrepancy with all this stuff, right? And whether it is best ball drafts or whether it's even Top Shot, like, we probably convince ourselves, or a cohort of people convince themselves, they have more of an edge than they actually do under just like the guise of entertainment. Like, drafting best ball teams is fun.
Yeah.
Ripping packs is fun. And even when you devote a ton of time to it, like, we all know that your ROI on the time investment is not good, but neither is bird watching, right? Like, so it's like,
Right.
if it brings you joy.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the thing. It's like, when you're getting mad about people talking about best ball draft, it's like, it's literally just a hobby. No one is saying this is the best place to park your money for the next year. People would just legitimately have fun and view it as a great distraction.
Yeah, like, I mean, if all you care about is like maximizing ROI, you should be playing like NBA double ups on Yahoo or something. I don't know. It's like you talk about this all the time on your streams. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't have to play the spy every weekend on DraftKings. I would go do I would go max enter the $10 tournament on Yahoo or whatever,
Yeah.
and grind out the guaranteed overlay, but it's just way more fun to not do that.
Yeah, totally. And I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive, right? Like, I think
Sure.
all of us in our group, we're willing to have fun. We're willing to donk off some money, to have fun, to bet, to gamble. And yet we also want to be smart, especially when we're scaling up our play, or you're max entering BBM, or you're playing in higher stakes single entry tournaments. Like, we don't want to, we're not rich enough to just donk it off there, but I think we can contain multitudes and switch back and forth between, like, yeah, we want to get it in good, but we also want to have fun. And I think that's like a worthy, goal to aim for most players.
Yeah, and like, also my brain is so broken via all of this stuff, like, via playing DFS since I was like 18 and playing in all these fantasy leagues, that like, if a hobby doesn't have the ability to return any money, like if there is no element of speculation, it is way less fun, which is like, I don't know, that's definitely some hardcore brain broken thinking. And that is I think that like applies to like society as a whole, because all the glorification of like hustle culture, which I fucking hate, but
Yeah.
is like a really, it's like the same thing.
Dude, that's what I'm going through right now. And Lauren and I are going on a vacation a week from today, so I'm excited to decompress. But I'm also been, just wrestling with that constantly, because I've been just kind of taking it much easier. Like when you take all the DFS stuff I was doing off my plate, it was like, 15 to 16 hours of work, just right there alone, off my plate, maybe even more. And now it's like you feel like you should be doing more, but it's also like you were going pedal to the metal for 7 or 8 months, and it's probably good to recharge. Yet we constantly feel this need of, like you said, the hustle culture. Oh, you're gonna, be left behind, or you're gonna lose a step. And so I'm constantly wrestling with those two things.
Yeah, I mean that's like a big work from home thing too. Regardless of if you're your own boss or if you are working from home for a company, like there's probably always something you could be doing. There's probably always some work you could be getting ahead on, and those wires really get crossed when you work from home, because it's kind of hard to log off and leave. I guess one thing that is nice, and you probably have this too, is like I don't do any work on my laptop at all. It's all on my desktop, and my office is on a separate floor than like the rest of our house. So like when I do make that decision to be done, I don't like have to be like sitting in the living room, like looking at my computer, like, fuck, you should really get to some emails or whatever. Like
Yeah.
I like that, like that's just it.
I'm the exact same way. I have my desktop. The only time I use my laptop is when I'm traveling. Like I took it to LA and I was writing the newsletter and stuff like that from that. But otherwise, if I'm home, I'm doing work at my computer. And then when I'm away from it, I'm not doing work. I think the one nice thing is and I've told you before, I've been going to a lot of the noontime gym classes at my boxing gym, and it just forces me to get up in the middle of the day. And he started those when the pandemic started. He used to not have the lunchtime classes. And I love it because it just breaks up my day, gives me an excuse to get up from my computer, you exercise, and just also knowing I'm registered for the class versus if I just said, oh, I'll go for a run at noon. Like I'm never doing that. Like I'm just going to blow right past it and stay at my desk. So it is that just having things that force you to get up, because we have enough things going on. Like I could go the rest of my life without ever being bored. I could be up the
Oh
next
yeah.
24 hours straight on my computer and have constant stimulus, constant things before I got bored. And so it's like, you really have to fight against that.
Yeah. No, that is a good. I mean, that's like that's kind of like a semi-popular thing now. Is like the value of being bored, the value of letting your mind not be stimulated. So I think I told you about this, but this wager that Justin Freeman and I made.
I saw you guys talking about parameters, but I don't know if I heard about the finalized bet.
So it's all booked. Anyone, I mean, not anyone, obviously would have to be someone we know since there's money involved. But it's a good idea if you're doing this. So basically it's like fantasy sports for improving yourself. So it's very gamified. So there are point values for no liquid calories, point values for exercise, point values for steps, point values for fasting, negative point values for like cheat meals, eating out, making your bed, reading, meditating,
making
like
your
that.
bed is in there.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
What making your bed is one pointer, which I never used to do. Before we started doing this, I would just get up in the morning and just go. And I have to say, it is one of those things where it's like, all right, I started my day. I did it. I made the bed.
I'm a big make your bed guy. That's where I'm like a big straighten up guy. Like if the pillows or whatever, I like to go. It just like makes me feel accomplished. But yeah, the mental health of just tidying things up goes a long way. Like a lot of times, if I have a ton of work to do, I mentally can't get there until I straighten up the kitchen, throw in a load of laundry, and it's like once all that clutter is taken care of, now my brain can work.
Also, I mean, it's a very real thing. The human brain craves order in general, which is funny because my desk is such a fucking mess right now. I'm actually looking at my desk right now, and it's just like, what's the most half drank coffees you've ever had at your desk at one point?
I see that goes back to me kind of being OCD with tidying up. Like I'll often come down in the morning and be like, oh yeah, you never put your coffee cup away from last night, but I'll never get to 2. It'll always just be max 1.
Dude, so it wasn't this week, but it was last week. And I wasn't even really that busy. I must have just been having a bad mental health week. Dude, I had 5 So every day of the
What
week,
every day?
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I had 5 coffee cups on my desk when I came down to for my to Monday this week, and I was like, "You are such an asshole! Like, what you like? Organize your life, dude. Like, get it together."
My OCD wouldn't let. I would be like, I have to clean these up before I can do anything on my computer.
Well, I sort of give myself a pass because my office is it's like we have like a half finished basement, so it's not like I'm the basement is just mine. It's not super organized down here, and so I'm just like, what does it fucking matter if I have a coffee cup or two? Which is not, I mean, it could all be organized down here. I could have a gym set up down here, like it could all be good, but I'm just really lazy. What can
Yeah.
you do?
Yeah, it is. It's funny too. I was, and it's ironic that we're recording this right when I broke my streak. But since the end of the season, I had told you about this last year. I had a good stretch going where I left my phone at my computer at night. So you finish up a show, or whatever, done watching TV with Lauren. It's just like leave it down here. Just don't take it in the bedroom. And reading before bed, got in a really good habit. But last night we get off ship chasing, and of course all the stuff with Putin invading Ukraine, and I was like, I need to go doom scroll upstairs. Like it was
Like
just too hard.
imagine not doom scrolling during
Yeah,
I stayed up like an hour and a half past my bedtime last night, just hardcore doom scrolling.
yeah, it was like almost impossible too. And you're kind of asking yourself, like for me, I'd been on streams for 3 hours straight. So I legitimately wanted to catch up on the news and hear what was going. But then there's diminishing returns when you're constantly refreshing. You're trying to see if there's a new video. You're trying to see, and that's when you enter the doom scrolling portion. And then you notice that people are retweeting video game clips that aren't actually even missiles in being shot from Ukraine. And you're like, what the fuck am I even doing here? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. No, that is, and that was like COVID stuff too, right? The doom scrolling, like dooms, I feel like March and April 2020 is when doom scrolling as like a phrase entered into the lexicon. Like people who are extremely online knew about doom scrolling, but like everyone was doom scrolling then, just like all the bad news, all the shitty stuff happening in China, the George Floyd stuff, the protests, like it was just nothing but bad all the time.
I know. And the thing though is I think back to it, and it's not even that different of even pre-internet for me. I remember, so in Colorado, my school was like 10 minutes away from when Columbine happened. And I was in 6th grade, and my mom picked me
Oh
up and took
wow.
me home. And we did the doom scrolling version of TV, and that we just like
Yeah,
watched the Columbine coverage for like
all
10
day.
hours straight, just like
Yeah.
nonstop. They're regurgitating the same stuff, no information, but it's like you're almost paralyzed to it when it feels so massive and hits so close to home that it's like it's hard. And it's how do you detach like getting information, staying informed with the diminishing returns of just watching that over and over.
Yeah, because it feels like it feels insensitive to like log off and go live your life. You're like, well, it's not the human thing to do. Just pretend like it's not happening, and then you balance it at the same time with, well, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, what is my role in the larger, just dynamics of like society, and there obviously it's nothing.
Everyone processes it differently, and some people process it by arguing the semantics of time person of the year for 12 hours straight on Twitter. Davis, that conversation broke me. Not even you, but I was just like, what, why, like, how is this
I
important
felt
right
I
now?
felt that I did a good job of logging off during, and I was just like, well, if those guys want to argue amongst themselves, they can. I have noticed the no coiner brain broken people in my mentions have started to like just like lose a disconnect. Like the no coiner people are having a tough time given all of the stuff that's happening in the world right now. Specific, like, and it's I don't know if this is because I'm looking for it or if I just wasn't educated about stuff like this before, but the combination of the Canadian trucker stuff and the exchanges telling everyone, get your money onto a coin wallet, and then now all the politicians talking about basically cutting Russia off from like the banking pipeline of the world via Swift. It's like I feel like financial like the problem that crypto was created to solve is like at the forefront more than ever. But maybe that's a wrong read just because I actually know what that stuff is now.
No, I definitely think that crypto stuff came to the forefront with the Canadian stuff, and even a lot of people who had hard anti-crypto takes have come around and posted stuff like, I see the value in this so much more than I ever did now that it's in our face. But it's like, this shit has been happening in Venezuela. It's been happening in all kinds of places, but I don't know, because it wasn't right next door to us. It
Well, I
didn't
just
seem as
find that
real.
I found that very distasteful. Actually, like there was some big right-wing blogger who
I
did
saw
some.
that's the one I think I'm referencing. Yeah.
So he did some post about like, oh, maybe Bitcoin is actually good, and it's like, bro, people have literally been telling you that people are using Bitcoin in South America and in Africa for years, and like you just didn't care. That's just very distasteful to me. And I mean, the Bitcoiners, they like, because I'm not one of those people either, but they're always like, check your financial privilege, bro. But that actually is one of the spots where it's like, maybe you should check your financial privilege a little bit, because it's a very real thing that's happening to literally millions of people in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And like the Twitter stuff too, it's the same. The things like a viral tweet or a viral engagement thing, it's either like a blazing hot take or just something is a little bit off in the tweet, or something's just like
Yeah.
slightly wrong, or it's like universally known that that's slightly wrong. But then like some of these conversations, it's like people are just arguing with you over literal semantics. Like they know that it's complete not good faith. They knew what point you're trying to make, but because they can get you with how you worded something, or because you didn't have a fucking footnote to your tweet, like, I'm just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, I mean, my brain just melts reading some of these back and forths on Twitter.
This is probably the most I have ever like hated being on Twitter in my life, like the last and honestly, I think a huge part of it is NFTs, because people hate NFTs as like a personality trait. That's like a guy online now. Like, how there are different types of like being online guy, like team record in bio guy, right? Guy who has Washington football team 8-8 in their bio, like types of guys. Like hating NFT guy is like a guy online now, which is just is exhausting.
It almost is so binary at this point, where it's like you
Yeah.
either just gave in, and like every day I'll still see someone new. I was like, oh wow, you have an NFT as your profile picture. I didn't peg you as
Yeah,
an NFT
didn't
pro.
peg you. Yeah.
Or you just actually have to hate it. Like there's no just like, I'm ambivalent to NFTs. I think they're great for the people who are doing them. Not my thing. Like that doesn't exist. You're either like all in or you fucking hate them.
No, and I have a hard time with this too, and I talked about this with Brian a couple times the last couple weeks of like, are we actually at a point in human history where it all does feel so extreme and more fractured or whatever, or does this actually happen all the time? Is this how people felt in like depression era United States? Like did people back then feel like, the president is doing the right thing, he's not doing the right thing, it's this person's fault, and like I don't know, like I have a hard time with that. Like, does it just feel so bad because we're in it right now, or is that just how humans have behaved historically?
Yeah, I think we're probably just whatever the object of our attention is changes, with different generations, but like the way we feel, it's probably as old as time. I bet like these patterns of behavior have been replicated over and over and over in different forms.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So on NFTs, I mean, we're a year into it now, basically. I mean, but Bales did his big victory lap on everyone and gave away the moment. So I guess that does mark here. Honestly, probably this is, I bet. Actually, I know it was a year anniversary of my Tyler Hero sale, because I think it was February 22nd, if memory serves. Got to be
Wow, and
pretty close. Got to be pretty close to when you did the CryptoPunk video too.
Yeah, I'm trying to, that must have been, yeah, because I think that was right before I went on my trip, late March. So yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
probably mid-March, last year. Yeah, it is wild. Coming up on these kind of milestones and being like, even when I was at the gym earlier, I was like, I remember being at the gym at this time last year and running over to my phone in between sets to see if I had a Top Shot sell notification.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank God I've moved past this kind of dependency. Like I can't even go to the gym for an hour without checking my phone. I mean, it was bad.
You don't check your phone at the gym?
Well, so I go to like classes, and that's what makes it even worse. So like I was sneaking off like for water breaks and checking my phone where like the whole
That is
class is
really good.
programmed. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that is really good. So I mean, I have you had this experience where like obviously you like NFTs, you own NFTs, you mint them, whatever, but you find NFT Twitter to be very distasteful?
Yeah. I feel like I've experienced the entire range of emotions on NFTs, right? Like the financial highs, the financial lows, the community highs. Like you're in Club MGMI. We have a blast in there. It's a great
Yeah,
group of guys.
amazing.
But then you feel like the lows of it when prices are going down or there's infighting or whatever it
No,
is. It's like
I love Club NGMI when the prices are down. Everyone knows when number goes down that I'm gonna come in to Club NGMI and be like, yeah, boys, number's down, but we don't care.
your timing is always perfect, and you're like, I'm big on like I'll scroll up if I haven't been in the chat for a while to like gauge the sentiment. Davis
No,
just comes in
no.
guns ablazing. I'm here, guys.
Yeah, no, never scroll up. I will say my time spent in discords and things like that is basically done. Like I own the tokens I'm gonna own. I don't think the last token I spent ETH on was months ago, was the Smiles token. But yeah, I just like I like NFTs still, but I don't have the brain space. And I also am not one of these people that thinks that the profile pictures are like gonna change the world and are, you know, like the metaverse is very close. Though I think that the more interesting use cases for NFTs are like gonna be like entrance into gated communities, basically, which is what I think. I mean, a lot of people have had that idea. That's not a unique idea at all.
Yeah. I've been getting, and this isn't the first time anyone has made this comparison, and I think even we've made the comparison, but even just with what's going on in the world and seeing a lot of the NFT market really start to pull back, it's like I've been preparing myself mentally for the like ICO bubble version of NFTs. And I even remember talking with Dangy and some of the NGMI guys when we were spinning up that Discord too. And I even remember when Top Shot was pumping and I was doing like the non-ironic, not financial advice disclaimers, knowing like the music will stop at some point and this will crash. And if you have not gotten your house in order or you have not mentally prepared for it, like you are going to be wrecked and you will be down bad in an unironic way. And I've just felt that creeping. And, you know, this isn't me calling bottom here or whatever, but I'm just saying the time will come. I don't know what it will be, but it's once you reach max euphoria, there is an opposite reaction to that. And I do feel with a lot of this stuff, like we're getting to that point.
I mean, I have firmly believed this and said this forever, that Bitcoin being even 30,000, Ethereum being 2,000, right? I mean, those prices cannot sustain in a multi-year bear market at all, right? The idea that you know, Luna has this insane market cap, that these NFT projects are creating tokens out of nowhere that have liquidity behind them. Like the idea that Looks Rare would have any liquidity behind it in a true bear market when the money printer stops is like there's going to be so many people left holding. I mean, I'm going to be left holding the bag at this point because I have all these tokens that are literally going to be worth $0. I mean, at some point, not, and far be it from me to say when that point is going to be, what's going to lead us there. But yeah, I mean, it just feels as if the current overall crypto market is the total house of cards.
Right. And the one thing though, to not go full doom on it, is there is a kernel and there's a nugget within all of this that launched all of this that actually is very powerful and unique and will probably lead to lots more, you know, groundbreaking technologies down the road. Like in the same way,
no doubt.
Like the ICOs were like this revelation of, oh, we can raise money and cut out, you know, being an accredited investor. Like that idea of raising money was like really powerful. And now we see even more mature versions of that with DAOs. And then NFTs take that same concept and like, oh, this idea of galvanizing communities and, you know, returning value to investors, like that is a cool idea. But now it's been so bastardized and so overrun by scammers and all of this stuff that it's like we've kind of lost that nugget. And it does feel like we have to hit rock bottom for like the true, you know, people with good intentions to build like on these best ideas and not on the worst part of these ideas.
Yeah, you're not going to have all, but essentially all products in a market be you know, high value and be full of integrity when there are so many billions of dollars at play and anyone can get it, right? I mean, like De'Aaron Fox, the NBA player,
just saw that rugged his NFT.
He just rugged a bunch of people for like 700 ETH or something like that, and it's like, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, that's the NFT space.
I just saw that on Twitter for a half second today and wanted to look into that more because I mean, it's one thing for an anon team to rug. Like that's the whole point of being anonymous, right? Is you take the ETH and you bounce.
Yeah.
But we're talking about an extremely high profile individual
Very
with lots at
yeah.
stake. To where like, I'm talking like, you know, the feds looking into like what happened to this if this becomes a big enough story. So like I need to look into it more. Maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion, but it looked pretty bad.
The optics of it were not good. You're right. I also don't know, but I mean, I just know the headline is De'Aaron Fox rugged a bunch of people, and maybe that's true or maybe it's not. I do think though, again, this is the bad faith argumentative stuff where people are like, well, because Kim Kardashian was involved in some Ethereum offshoot rug, that means that all cryptocurrency is bad and that everyone involved in the space is bad and a rube or whatever. And it's like, you know, no one applies that logic to whatever they're in, right? So like a fantasy football writer wouldn't be like, oh, well, yeah, this one fantasy guy was a scammer, or who is that? Bobby Sylvester, like because one fantasy writer was like harassing women online. That means that all fantasy writers harass women online, and it's totally. I mean, it is just one of those things that the bad faith crypto people they think that everyone in crypto, you know, behaves that way, and everyone is out to scam, and it's very disheartening. But I just I don't know. I am at this. I don't know. Maybe you share this or whatever, but like Twitter has always kind of been a drain, but it's like, it's the worst it's ever been right now. Like I genuinely don't like the app near as much as I used to.
Yes, I agree with you, but I think my relationship with Twitter is much more healthy.
Oh, way different. Yeah, no doubt.
I sometimes have to force myself of like, because basically now I'll just use Twitter to promote links to shows like when I'm live or the occasional joke. And I truly loathe having conversations on there. I'll have conversations with you in person. I'll have conversations on a show. Like anytime, like when I see, you know, we're all arguing about diversification in best ball, like I have thoughts on it, but I'm like, I'll just talk about it on a show. Like that's an actual forum where we can have conversations and stuff like that. I mean, Twitter is just the worst possible forum. Nothing is accomplished, nuance, sarcasm, everything is lost. And it also, like the way our brains work is like when I post on Twitter, then you spend time reading the replies, refreshing the notifications.
Yeah.
It sucks you in. And so I've kind of swung in the other direction where I'm like, I know if I don't post, I won't go look at my notifications and that. And so I'm actually trying to balance it because, like, yeah, obviously posting is good for business. It's good to driving traffic, all that stuff. But it's also like, at what cost?
I mean, at the cost of your brain, right? Definitely.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not good.
It like, imagine like some of your, so like the you know, using the diversification in best ball, I bet everyone from that who kind of weighed in on that could probably get on a round table on a podcast and have a pretty interesting conversation about that topic. Cause it is an interesting conversation. Take your like news article conversation. Imagine you guys getting on a show to talk about that thread. There's nothing to fucking talk about. Like people are just arguing for the sake of arguing. Like there's not even an interesting discussion there.
No, which comes down to the people don't like my politics, so they're gonna argue with whatever political thing I have to say, which you know, which sucks, right? Because like Brian and I don't hardly agree on anything, right? And we do these 2-hour podcasts where Brian's like, you're an idiot or not. But not even though. Brian's like, this is what you maybe haven't thought about with your political philosophy. And then I'm like, no, I have thought about it and you're wrong because of X, Y, and like, again, Brian and I don't agree on anything, but we can talk for, well, we agree on the one thing that we both think is important, right? Which is like that. I think that's like a huge bridge, right? So Brian and I are both crypto people, and I think you can be a crypto person and be under that bridge and still agree, because some people just don't think about money at all. Some people don't think about the state's relationship to money at all. I guess that's really what it's come down to, which is interesting. Let's talk about best ball diversification, because I didn't weigh in on that conversation at all, and so I have thoughts, but much like you, I was like, I'm not going to jump in to Hayden and Vimefor's 87th tweet about the matter, you know. So I will. Floor is yours. What were your diversification thoughts during that?
Yeah, I did talk about it a little bit on an episode with Splash Play, but yeah, my thought on it is, my macro thought is, we're constantly looking for edges in best ball, same way in DFS, and there's different levers you can pull for an edge. And we talk about like Showdown, I feel like is a good example, because it's like you can leave salary on the table. That's a way to pull a lever. You can roster the third string tight end that no one's going to play. That's a way to pull a lever. You can onslaught the underdog team. That's a way to pull a lever. So the same thing happens in best ball, right? Where structure, going 0 RB, that's a lever we can pull. Drafting a really unique guy in the 18th round that most of the field's not going to have. That's a lever. And then another lever is being overweight on a player you think is undervalued. But that presupposes that you're able to find players consistently that are undervalued. And if your thesis is the underdog ADP is pretty efficient, which I am of the belief it is, I think it would be very rare for me to find a guy that I think is mispriced by, let's say, 3 to 4 rounds in a way that would dictate, if I thought a guy was off by 3 to 4 rounds, I would want to be over 50% overweight on that guy. But I don't know if I can identify a spot last year where I thought a guy was off by 4 rounds. So to me, it's like, in a vacuum, I think not diversifying would be awesome, because then you're on all this stuff that everyone else isn't on. But I don't actually think that's possible with how efficient these markets are.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like it's very easy to do with the results, right? So it's like, oh yeah, dude, if I would have just taken Cordarrelle Patterson on all these teams instead of taking, Amari Rodgers or whoever, then I would have been made in the shade. I would have had a good ROI season. And it's just like because we already overtrust our abilities to prognosticate. Like there is no way that taking like 40% of a guy in the 18th round can be good. Like, I don't care. Like, and obviously people would respond to that with, well, I took Darren Waller in the last round of all my leagues in 2018 and I'm a genius. Or I took Cordarrelle Patterson or Randall Cobb his rookie year or whoever, you respond with that. But if you're left with, I did this last year. Donovan Peoples-Jones was my highest drafted wide receiver. I got two spike weeks out of him. So we ended up being maybe a small win. I mean, but he didn't score any points in the playoffs at all. I think he might have even been hurt in the fantasy football playoffs or whatever. So a horrible pick. And it's like, well, what if Donovan Peoples-Jones was Cordarrelle Patterson? Like, no, I probably would have just been better off taking 40 different guys then instead of just taking a bunch of him.
Yeah. And well, like one really good example of it is kind of how I've been analyzing how I think in these early best ball drafts. And I see my confirmation display or bias on full display, because I don't have like full takes on all of these players right now. There's so much in flux, right? With free agency, with depth charts, with the draft, like so much can change. So some of these guys I just don't have takes on. Some guys I do have takes on, and I just keep drafting those same guys. It's like I have a Jerick McKinnon thesis and I have a take on him. So
let's hear it. Let's hear the Jerick McKinnon thesis.
Well, my Jerick McKinnon thing is that I know he's a free agent. I think it's most likely he re-signs with the Chiefs. I think he's pretty valuable to the Chiefs. And I think there's a little bit of the Leonard Fournette-esque positive inertia from the previous year's playoffs and just being willing to bet against CH. And I think he's really cheap, that I think he's one of the best kind of late round running back picks right now, and that the market isn't like properly accounting for how well he played down the stretch. But my point in this analogy is that I've been drafting way too much Jerick McKinnon relative to his odds. And it's not
Right.
because I think he's a smash. It's because there's confirmation bias, and he's one of the only guys I see that I actually have a strong take on.
That you feel good about either way, that you feel positively or negatively about.
Exactly. And so it's like, I'm indifferent on another guy who might be just as good of a probability bet, but just because I feel something or know something, it's the same thing of like back when I first started playing fantasy sports, I would scan waiver wire columns and I would be only looking for names of guys on my team. I would want to read about guys already on my team. I wasn't trying to learn, where's the next edge, finding the uncover guy. I was like, tell me how great the guys I have on my team are.
Which is, I mean, that is a pretty dastardly thing. My thought would be, I actually think you would gain more of the lever points from getting really overweight on the close decisions in the early rounds, as opposed to like what Liam did. Obviously, taking 75% Gabe Davis or whatever, and good for him. I hope you enjoy your $1 million, bud. But for example, if you had taken a stance that Cooper Kupp was the right guy out of Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore, and there was one other wide receiver who went right there in the first round, you were smashing, or at the fourth round. Or if every time Allen Robinson, Amari Cooper, or there was another wide, I keep forgetting, but Keenan Allen. So it's Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, and you said, you know what? I'm out. I'm just taking Keenan Allen every single time here. You're smashing, which obviously again is sort of unrealistic, because those picks are really important, and you ruin your season if you had made the stance that Allen Robinson was the guy and you had 40% Allen Robinson. You're like locking in one of your worst fantasy years ever.
Right. I was just talking about this with Sean Siegel and Ben Gretsch on their Stealing Bananas podcast. But the way I was thinking about like diversification was, in a perfect world, in just like a self-contained 14-week league, or my, bucket or pool in an underdog league, I'd actually like to be overweight on guys, because you're basically saying, I want to take this position, and I think over a 14-week time span, like I'm going to be right more often than not, and I'll get to return the value on it. But we know the way these tournaments are structured, and with the advancing and how they all operate as single 1 week tournaments, that there is so much randomness and variance that I'd actually, in a perfect world, would like to have overweight exposures for weeks 1 through 14, and then jumble up and diversify my exposures for the playoff weeks. And it's like, and that's what's so weird in how you think about this, is because I almost think of them as two different things.
That is, I mean, that is very true. And that is one of the reasons why I would love, and I don't know if they would do this or not, but I brought it up to Josh, but I would love if Underdog did, the classic Best Ball Mania 3 or whatever. And then they also did a cumulative points championship. Like it could be smaller, could be $5, or a $25 with 100K to first instead of $1 million or whatever. But I would really enjoy the cumulative points format. I don't know. I mean, to me, that takes a little bit less randomness out of it, right? Where it's less about like, oh, you had to have this guy in week 17, and it was actually, no, you just had to have this guy. You had to have Cooper Kupp, right?
And the irony of that is all the people who push back against the super extreme hyper fragile draft strategies, whether that's zero RB or a true hyper fragile build, they would greatly benefit from that kind of format, because it is the teams that are really pushing the edges to get really unique. So you actually give yourself a chance to win in week 17, when you not only need to make it there, but be different enough from the other 180 teams, or however much it ends up being, that you give yourself a shot at first, because it's not only just drafting the right players, but then you actually need to have uniqueness and leverage to take down the whole tournament, which then goes back to these really unique builds, which case it's like, if you don't like that style, I mean, you would love cumulative points, or you would love playing self-contained 12-man leagues. That's where you can realize that edge more.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And I mean, we are, well, where do you see the zero running back? What's even the right at this stage? The discourse. Where do you see the discourse headed this offseason. Honestly, I don't even know the team that Liam won with. I don't know if it was a 4 running back team or a 0 running back team or whatever.
I think it was a hyper fragile. He had Jonathan Taylor, he had Aaron Jones on it, and I think a third guy, Damian Harris, he had in the mid range too.
Oh, Norris loved that, I bet.
To answer your question, it's going to be the same fucking movie we watch every year. Like nothing will change. We will argue about this. And at the end of draft season, you know, Hayden and Leone and those guys will go look at the data and they'll be like, well, still don't have a big enough sample size of 0 RB teams to actually know. Like people will fucking talk about it all off season and still not actually draft true 0 RB teams. So whatever, it's business as fucking usual.
Are you going to be drafting true 0 RB teams?
Oh yeah, for sure. I do legitimately think, I'm biased because I've had back-to-back top 10 finishes in underdog tournaments with true 0 RB teams. I still think it's the path of least resistance for not sacrificing a ton of projected points, getting unique rosters. The team Buying For and I had in week 17, I was just talking with Gretchen Siegel. Didn't have Mark Andrews, didn't have Jonathan Taylor, didn't have Deebo Samuel, didn't have Cooper Kupp. Like literally every league winner didn't have Josh Allen. Like not one of the top 5 or 6 most owned guys. And it was all there just because it had a unique structure. And so I might even lean into it heavier this year just because so many of the other edges are evaporating. I mean, how many teams are going to be drafted as anchor or 2 running back starts this year? I mean,
two running back starts and then not taking another one until the 9th round or whatever.
Like that's going to be what, 60% of people's drafts?
It's probably going to be 100% of mine. Not going to be able to help myself. And the extra 2 rounds, I mean, one of those extra rounds is a quarterback, right? But then the other slot is probably for running backs in terms of the typical, like it's probably going to be 3 quarterbacks, 5 or 6 running backs, 10 wide receivers, 2 or 3 tight ends. Like that's what everyone's going to do now, but it'll be 5 running back instead of 4 running back is the hyper fragile.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, Herzig will probably run back hyper fragile and just tack on an extra wide receiver. The 0 RB bros can tack on an extra running back dart. I will say just from a time investment standpoint, man, I feel those extra 2 rounds. Like
really?
I miss the 18 round. Like the 18 round, like we were popping off some of those in 40 minutes. And adding the 2 rounds, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I don't have takes on all the late players right now, but the extra 2 rounds feel like a chore.
You just taking Sky Moore there every time?
God, this Sky Moore bid is already out of control. He might actually be good though, right?
Yeah, he might be. I just was talking about him with Corain yesterday. A little bit of Janice vibes or whatever.
Oh,
they're true story. Jeff Janis sent me a DM yesterday.
No way.
Yeah, he did.
Unsolicited?
Unsolicited. He wanted me to do a layover of his official 40 compared to, I will even tell you, Jeff, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I'm opening our DMs right now. Comparing his 40-yard dash to DK Metcalf because he's faster. His 40 was faster than DK Metcalf.
That's crazy.
No idea where it came from, but I was like, you know what?
Did you ask him what he's up to these days?
Well, I know what he's up to, and it's not. He's like just a working man these days. Yeah.
I still think people would enjoy what's Jeff Janis up to.
I bet he would do the show. He might not be a huge fan of my politics, though. I think he is. Kind of a conservative guy, so he might not be super into it. But he's been on the show once before. You never know. I'm having hopefully having the gal on who identified the DAO hacker, the Ethereum DAO hacker from 2016.
No way.
So, I emailed her publicist and she said that they'll probably do it. But if no one's read that book yet, The Cryptopians, that one's in the mail for me. I have not
read that one.
I mean, it just came out yesterday, so it's not even to my house yet. But
I need some books for my trip. This one looks like a fun one.
Oh yeah, but I mean that is such an interesting story because that is exactly what Bitcoin people said would happen with Ethereum, which is that they would roll it back. But the funny thing is, all the people who are all the NFT bros, all the people who have .eth in their name or whatever, these people were not even there. They don't even remember. They just were. That is so far outside of their experience, and that is so funny to me that this basically the essential history of the Ethereum blockchain is unbeknownst to 90% of the people that use it.
Yeah. Real quick, I looked it up. Yeah, Laura Shin. She has a podcast too that I've listened to.
Unchained, I believe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about that a little bit with Brian, and it is it's the perfect use case of, why companies and a lot of even these DAOs,
They
when we're
love
talking
ETH, man.
Well, I was just going to say that why it's so hard to start things from the very beginning is truly decentralized. And like even Yuri, who runs that organization, SuperDAO, was like, most of these DAOs start with some centralized kind of stuff. It's too messy to do. And so, I mean, Ethereum learned that the hard way. Like, right, you have your pie in the sky ideologies, but when shit hit the fan, are you like, we're just going to let this die? Or are we going to intervene because we think it has potential? And so it's like, yeah, you lose some of the decentralization, ideologies, but at least you save the network.
and the Bitcoin bros would said you should have let it die.
Right, of course. They would love if it died.
Well, I was thinking this during the OpenSea hack or contract vulnerability or whatever that turned out to not be a vulnerability, but I was like, how big of an OpenSea vulnerability would it have to be for the Ethereum Foundation to even think about it? And I don't even think it's possible anymore. I think that the nodes are so decentralized now in Ethereum that it wouldn't even be possible. But I was just thinking, like, how big of an NFT hack would it have to be for it to even be like a thing that was voted on in the protocol? Like, would it have to be like every CryptoPunk and every ape was sent to like a stolen address, or would it just be like
I think it would have to be like a MetaMask exploit where it was like some kind of wallet or something that the majority of the population used. Right? Like if MetaMask had an exploit,
dude, I can't believe you even just put that out into the universe. But
well, you asked me. You said
no. But if there was a MetaMask vulnerability, and obviously, we would have to like ask Andy or someone who like really knew about this stuff. Like I don't even know if this would be possible anymore. But I actually do think that it seems from what people say that Ethereum is decentralized enough that like there wouldn't be anything that anyone could do. Like even if Vitalik himself was like, no, I want to undo all of these MetaMask vulnerabilities or whatever, I don't think he would have the ability to do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's scary. I mean, the biggest thing about them, we were talking about it on Club Top Shot too, is like, obviously you don't like seeing anything with phishing scams and people losing money in NFTs, but it does serve the most important thing is like, what can we take away from this? And I definitely feel a little bit more vigilant. I'm moving a little more slowly. I'm not clicking links and verifying and collab landing quite as quickly as I was before. And I think it's a good thing because we are like in NFTs, things move so quickly. And if you don't buy this now and you don't sell this now, if you don't
fast gas, you're fucked.
Yeah. And so I do just think that idea of like moving more slowly is a very, very good lesson.
It is an extremely good lesson. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would tell everyone to, and also, guys in Club NG might have made this point, but that the ledger is like a little bit of a false safe haven because if you sign transactions from the ledger, it functions the same way that a MetaMask does. So this is I don't think we've ever talked about this on the show before, but if you are actually rich off of crypto, if you were just one of these people who minted 10 Bored Apes and didn't paper hand them like Soccer Dave or whatever, I would tell you to set up a ledger that interacts with the internet on a laptop once and then is never connected to the internet again, to have a crypto specific laptop that does not interact with the internet. That I would highly encourage that if you are actually crypto rich.
That's for my most valuable NFTs now that I know I'm not touching. I have a hardware wallet, but that I'm not signing, I'm not doing anything. It's like a true vault. And you know what?
Don't mint up your ledger.
Right. And maybe you miss a whitelist opportunity or some kind of drop, but it's like, who cares if that's the price of security?
Yeah, I really hate the whole whitelist thing now. It seems shitty. Say I don't like, this is something I really don't like about NFTs, is like just anything where you have to like grind whitelisting. Like, what's the point? What are we doing here?
What's
Like,
the point of grinding DFS head to heads? You know, it's the same
well,
thing.
I'm not saying there should be no grinding involved, but like make a game people have to play or something. Like,
Yeah.
don't have it be like talking in the Discord, right?
Yeah, I mean, you understand the thought process behind whitelists is that you are rewarding your most active community members and not
Obviously.
not the rent seekers. The problem is the grinders are rent
Are
seekers.
rent seeking, and they'll rent seek hard. Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah.
the real grinders will rent seek harder than people who like your shit. I mean, I think that people actually hated this, but I loved the way Mechaverse did theirs. It's just a
The
random
raffle.
raffle.
Yeah. But then that
People,
got botted and people created all kinds of different wallets to get in the
yeah,
raffle.
yeah. So in
I
theory,
honestly, the perfect way to do this would actually be hyper centralized, and it was just the leader of the community going around and arbitrarily giving people
just
whitelists based on
choosing,
what they were contributing in the Discord.
yeah,
Like, oh, you're always in here, you're positive, you're helping people with
yeah.
resources. Like, now you get it. Like, that would be the truly the best way to do it. Even when they say like get to level 10 in Discord, then everyone's just typing fucking GM in a channel for 2 hours.
I did that once. So I did one grind the whitelist Discord, and I was like, you know what, this is stupid. I'm never doing this again.
I mean, I can't talk shit about the whitelist because one of my did I tell you my story with the NGMI guys like found basically like 15 ETH for me in the couch cushions that I didn't know I had?
No,
So it
pretty
was like
nice life.
one random like last fall, it was the small brains on the treasure ecosystem. They had their whitelist and it was like draw small brain on a piece of paper, upload it to Discord, and you'll get put on the whitelist. So I did it just because they were all doing it. And
Sure.
I forgot about it. Oh, and then it went to Mint whitelist, and I saw it was on a different network, and that I was gonna have to bridge money over to Arbitrum. And I was like, "Fuck this!" Like it was fun
Yeah.
drawing the photo. I'm out. Then on New Year's Eve, I get tagged by InQ and Tom Chambers in the Discord, and they're like, "Pete, we just noticed you were on the whitelist and you submitted your wallet," because they like went on a recovery mission from people from the Discord who had done it. And they're like, "Yeah, the floor for what you can redeem 2 smalls and a piece of land is like 15 ETH right now." I was like, "Lauren, we need to leave this New Year's Eve dinner party.
I gotta go right now. I'm
I
sorry.
need to go home and find it." And so like that is like why these guys are willing to grind the whitelist so hard, is because like you're gonna eat so much shit, but every once in a while you're gonna get invisible friends, and then it's gonna open with like a 12 ETH floor. So like I get why it is attractive to grind, but man, do you have to do some
I
toe licking.
I don't mean to criticize anyone grinding. I would be far wealthier if I would commit to the grind.
Yeah.
Also, there's also like a little bit of like, if you actually believe in Bitcoin the way I do, you think you're going to be rich inevitably anyway, which is not helpful in the present, because I could be more present rich if I was willing to grind these NFT things harder. But I'm just like, whatever. When I'm 60, I'm going to be an oligarch or whatever anyway, because I think Bitcoin is going to go to X, Y, or Z, and it's probably bad. It's probably why all the club NG my bros, they're like, bro, Bitcoin sucks.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of middle it. Like I don't go true grinder, but if there's really low hanging fruit, or I've noticed too, like if you hold certain NFTs, like those tend to get whitelisted more than others. So like I have one of those lemon heads, and I just have one of them, but I like keep getting on whitelists just because you own that one thing. So I'll take the second to go collab land for that. But yeah, no, I mean I've never done the true whitelist grind where you're just chatting in a random Discord trying to get elevated. Like I was like, that's a line that I have to draw it at.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else?
No, man. Yeah, a week from today, I will be on a plane, and definitely looking forward to unplugging even more so.
Oh, can't wait. I have a golf trip in like 2 months where I'll be out for 4 days, and it's going to be the NFL draft will be done. Well, I'll be able to, be drafting best ball teams on the 18th green, which is what it's
Wow.
really all about.
When Davis Mattek bachelor party?
That's it. That we're just doing
You're not I didn't get invited to the bachelor party?
Do you want to come? We have a huge, like a 13 room house. You're more than.
When is it? I'm more offended that I didn't get. How was I getting invited to the wedding that I can't go to, but not to the bachelor party, which I could potentially go to?
It's the first weekend in May.
Okay. Well, keep me posted.
Yeah. It's like, it might be a little hard for you to get to. Like, there's probably not an airport super close to it. Like, you probably have to rent a car.
Wait, where is it?
Lake of the Ozarks.
Oh, dude. I want to check out the Ozarks. God damn it. Davis,
give
me a proper invite.
I will. I mean, yeah, you're more than welcome.
Well, I feel bad.
In your DM.
I feel bad that I can't go to your wedding. But I would definitely go to the bachelor party.
Well, it's all right. You have to be there. I told Zakarian that I did team Hold'em with him the other morning, and I was like, "You're a fucking asshole. You're the reason Pete can't come to my wedding, bro."
I know. You two both tell me the wedding's on the same day. I'm like, God damn it. So yes, I'm in for the bachelor party.
Beautiful. All right. Well, yeah, you're in. You're invited. I'll have my my best man send you the all the information you need.
Do we have any other online friends coming, or is this all Davis IRL friends?
All Davis IRL friends.
We should get Corain to come to.
Does Corain like to golf?
Actually, I don't know.
I mean, we're not just golfing. Like, we'll be hanging out.
I really I don't mean to hijack it, but we also need to invite Laird. I'm taking over the guest list for your bachelor party.
I mean, I that's funny you say that, because I was gonna invite Laird, but I was like, he doesn't want to come.
He will.
Like, I was gonna invite Laird to the wedding, but I was like, he also doesn't want to come to that, and also he'll be at training camp.
He'll come golf in the Ozarks. It sounds like a blast.
My IRL buddies would be like, they would lose their minds if Laird came.
All right, there we go. Well, we're gonna make this happen. Let's fire up the. I'll get my Apple burner phone and we'll discuss logistics.
Okay. Wow, sounds amazing. All right, everyone, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.